Hello, hello, and welcome to the channel Highly Sensitive Wisdom. My name is Susanna, and today's topic is a continuation from the last video. So we'll continue talking about the energetics of food. So the last video is called You Are What You Eat, the energetics of food, and I will put the link in the description if you haven't watched that yet. And today's video is about how to build yourself up with high frequency foods. So I have even brought some foods to show you. And we will continue reading a little bit in the book by Dr. Tuttle, The World Peace Diet. And yeah, this will be a really, how do you say, uplifting video and very hands-on, like what you can do in your everyday life to build yourself up energetically and, well, physically also, of course, with your food choices. Because one thing is knowing what not to eat. And then you're left with the question like, and now what? Then what do I eat? Because there's so many traps, so many pitfalls in today's world when it comes to food and food choices, and we have been fed so many lies. And industries who have that have a lot of money for marketing and propaganda and feeding our minds with lies, and then we make disinformed choices that have consequences, sometimes very detrimental consequences for our health, especially in the long term. So today I will show you and also tell you some things about what to eat, how to prepare the food the best way possible, and also I'll speak a little bit about your inner state when you are preparing your food, because that's also super important when it comes to the energetics of food. So first things first, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and give the video a like. Share your aha moments in the comment section so that we can uplift and inspire each other. And yeah, share the video also with your loved ones so that more people can find this channel and be inspired and empowered by the content that I am sharing. Thank you in advance for your participation. All right, so in the last video, we were focusing on foods from the animal industry. And yeah, that's not really food at all, because these are living conscious beings whose lifespan is being, drastically reduced on purpose, and with the sole goal of, profiting from their suffering and sell their bodies as food. So yeah, if you want to elevate your consciousness, you want to have a higher frequency, you need to go plant-based. You need to eat plants and not animals as foods. That's the first thing. And this has been known for millennia. This is not something new. I'm not coming with news here for you. Even, Pythagoras in ancient Greece, that was millennia ago. He already said, may your food be your medicine. And he was a vegetarian, and he already understood the connections between our food, our consciousness, our state of health. He already connected the dots thousands of years ago. So this is not something new. And many brilliant people who are, in history have been vegans and vegetarians because they understood the connections. And obviously the food industry has gone downhill since World War II. So in today's world, and yeah, I have mentioned this also, the content, the nutrient content is very depleted in our food supply worldwide since World War II. So whatever we can learn from, ancient cultures or civilizations, apply the wisdom that they shared, but then be even more critical in your thinking, because the conditions of today's world are even more difficult because food supply is even more depleted. So you have to make even more conscious effort in what we put into our body, temple of our soul. So yeah, the first thing then is to eat plants as foods to raise your frequency and therefore elevate your consciousness. This is the first step. But then we also need to know what to eat, because there are so many things to choose from. And yeah, just because we go vegan, we are not immune to marketing. We're not immune to influence from other people. We're not immune to we don't automatically become enhanced in our lie detecting abilities just because we go vegan. It's a process. And yeah, I did record another video on that if you want to go vegan. It's called How to Transition to Veganism in an Empowered Way. So today will be really practical, really practical on what to eat, how to do it, how to prepare, how to think about this. So to use food as medicine, and not only medicine, because that implies that you're already, sick or imbalanced in some way. So what I want to, share today truly is how to build yourself up energetically through food to raise your frequency and thereby elevating your consciousness. So let's get into it. So something that is, extremely extraordinarily beneficial for your health and your consciousness when it comes to food is sprouted seeds. So I have brought sprouted seeds to show you, and I eat sprouted seeds a few times a week. I try to do it daily, but yeah, then it takes like a week or so for the seeds to sprout. So yeah, we have to be constantly monitoring, not running out of supply. Yeah, I don't buy them in a supermarket because that would be quite expensive and so easy to prepare yourself. So why buy it in supermarket? So this is the most known seed for spreading. It's alfalfa seeds. It's a kilo. So you take tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of these wonderful seeds, sprout them, and a week later you have this. So, and this is 1 kilo. So I said 1 tablespoon of this becomes this a week later. So you can imagine how much, it's a very efficient food because imagine how much spread seed you'll get from 1 kilo of this if 1 tablespoon of this is this in a week, a week later after starting sprouting process. So it's not only very, very nutritious, also very efficient and very cost effective, if that's something that matters to you. And alfalfa seeds are extraordinarily rich in protein. And I do have actually, a testimonial about that. Recently, a bit over 2 weeks ago, I had an accident in the kitchen. Something broke, and a piece of glass entered, here, and created wounds. And then I needed, to help my body repair the injury. So what I did, obviously, was to increase my protein intake. I also spoke about that in a previous video about how to get rid of menstrual pain, specifically for a female audience. So it's called Ladies, Menstrual Pain is Optional. I will also drop the link to that video in the description. So what I did is that I increased a lot my protein intake, because when you have an injury, your body has to repair her or himself. And for that, your body will need more protein to replace damaged cells and to, grow new cells to replace, the wounded ones, the injured ones. And so I ate a lot of sprouted seeds, especially alfalfa seeds, and also a lot of quinoa, and a lot of beans. I eat a lot of beans and lentils. But for that specific situation, I increased a lot of alfalfa seeds, sprouted, and quinoa, basically. And I could actually feel how, because it was itching so much on my hand, because I could actually feel the process of my body growing new cells on my hand. My body communicates very clearly to me because I listen so attentively also to her needs. So she was telling me, yeah, we need more protein, and I was giving her more and more and more and more. It has been very helpful. And I didn't have any pain, except for the accident itself, when it was, my hand was bleeding. Of course, that hurt. But the healing process, I haven't had any pain at all. I haven't, because even the nurse who helped me, said, yeah, if you have any pain, you can take painkillers for that. And you know me by now, like, oh, I was gonna do that. I'm gonna use food to help my body heal and regenerate faster. So in only a bit over 2 weeks, the injury doesn't bother me at all anymore. I can do all the things I used to do before. Usually it takes longer, to heal, especially if it has been quite deep, So that is also the power of food as medicine, as I was saying. Alfalfa seeds are great for yeah, for building yourself up energetically and physically, as in this case with my hand. I still have a little like this. But yeah, it was only another proof that food is extraordinarily helpful and beneficial and powerful when it comes to healing on all levels. And then I have brought another kind of sprouted seed, and this is mustard seeds. I'll let them grow a little bit more. But yeah, this is also like a week into the sprouting process. So it's very easy, really, to sprout seeds. You just take the seed. Usually, you need to leave them soaking overnight or like 8 hours. Then you you throw out the soaking water, you rinse them, and you put in you rinse them so they will not be soaked. On the first night they will be soaked completely, but after you throw out the soaking water, you just rinse them a couple of times a day. Or if you live in a very tropical regions where the temperatures are really high, then you might need to rinse them 3 times a day, because they cannot be dry completely. They have to be then it needs to be water all the time, so that they never go completely dry, because if they go completely dry, then the sprouting process will stop. So you need to rinse them twice a day or 3 times a day if you live in a tropical area, or hot summer, or whatever, and maybe your case, and then you rinse them 3 times a day. So you need to be attentive just to make sure they don't dry out completely. All right. But other than that, the seeds will take care of themselves. And that is also what I wanted to share, energetically, because if you think of it from nature's point of view, the seeds that are sprouting, they are in a phase of expansion. They are, they are expanding a lot. And you can also see this on the nutritional level, because their vitamin content multiplies by usually hundreds of times. The nutrient in, and yeah, there are other things you can sprout also, not only alfalfa seeds or mustard seeds. I'm just showing these because these are the ones I have ready for eating, to show you, hands on. But there are many things that you can sprout. There are many seeds you can sprout. You can also even sprout like, chickpeas, for instance. You can sprout that. Usually we eat chickpeas, maybe like hummus or like falafel or some maybe curry. We prepare curry dishes with chickpeas. There are so many recipes you can prepare on your own. But you can also sprout chickpeas and eat them raw. It only takes a few days. You don't have to wait a week for that. Chickpeas are much faster to sprout. So for instance, that is also something you can do. So if you compare the nutritional content in the state before sprouting process started, and then by the time the sprouted seeds or sprouted chickpeas or whatever you're sprouting are ready for eating, there have been many analyses made, in laboratory to examine the content of the nutrition, and they have found that nutritional value usually it multiplies 100-folds. So that is extraordinarily nutritional. So if you're at all interested in high nutrition, high value nutrition, that is a great thing to do, to eat sprouted seeds. And also another thing I wanted to share, on the power of this. I've spoken a lot about France in past videos, and there is specifically one video where I shared about symptoms I developed that my subconscious was generating to alert me about the toxicity of the environment, and also people around me, specifically my ex, with whom I was living at the time in the same house. So that's that video. If you want to watch that, it's called "Your Physical Symptoms Can in Reality Be Spiritual Symptoms." And if you watch that video, you will realize that I was going through a lot of struggle, a lot of hardships. And one of the things that allowed me to get away from that toxicity, in addition to reprogramming my subconscious with a belief code, and I will also drop a link in the description if you want to learn more about the belief code and subconscious reprogramming. I also have a video about that called Discovering Subconscious Reprogramming. I will also drop that in the link. So that was also something I was doing to empower myself to not only escape the environment, but to build myself up and long term, right? So what I was doing also, I was eating, absurd amounts of sprouted seeds. I was usually sprouting between 5 and 7 different kinds of seeds simultaneously, and I made sure to never, ever, ever run out of supply of sprouted seeds while I was preparing the move back to Sweden. So yeah, usually you don't need between 5 and 7 different kinds of sprouted seeds to give yourself the nutrition and the energy you need to make major transitions or major moves in your life. Like in my case, moving back from France to Sweden, my country of birth. But yeah, that was super helpful because the frequency of my ex with whom I was living in the same house, even though we were separated, we were still in the same house. For most of the time I was living in France, which meant that I needed to raise my frequency in any way I possibly could, just to counteract his low frequencies, so that, because otherwise I was just stuck. So yeah, sprouted seeds were hugely, hugely helpful in that process to building myself up to leave that toxic relationship on my own, just me and God, and no help from outside sources other than, professional help. I was working on myself also, obviously, but no help from so-called friends, no help from so-called family or acquaintances. It was just me and God, and that's also how I learned the hard way what works, what doesn't work. And sprouted seeds, yeah, they are very powerful. So make sure to eat sprouted seeds at least a few times a week, but preferably daily. So if you make it a lifestyle to sprout your own seeds, you will always have access to very high quality nutrition that can not only build yourself up physically, energetically, help to heal, injuries that can appear, accidents or whatever may appear on your path, because no one is immune completely to these things. But we can deal with them so much better and so much more efficiently when we have the right understanding, the right information, and implementing that information in powerful ways, not empower ourselves. So that is also why I'm showing you this, because it's so, so important. Another thing that you need to do, so we said eat plant-based, first step, add a lot of sprouted seeds, second step. There are other things that you can do. I've also mentioned this in previous videos about smoothies. Smoothies are super powerful also to increase your nutrient intake and also your energetics, your frequency. Because smoothies they're very fast and easy to prepare, and you have full control of what goes into your smoothie. Because I'm not talking here about smoothies that you buy, already made. I'm talking about smoothies that you prepare yourself, because then you have full control over what goes into the smoothie. And also it's very easy to add like superfoods. There are so many superfoods you can add that are super beneficial. Some superfoods that I eat regularly are spirulina, maca. There are many superfoods. When you start looking into that is super. That is also fascinating. They are super, super rich in nutrition. So they are not maybe necessary for survival, but they do give you a boost and help you, elevate your standard of life. And I eat a lot of almonds, nuts, seeds, hemp seeds, sesame seeds, flax seeds for omega-3, great for brain health and memory. Hemp seeds are also really great for omega-3 and brain health, and specifically for your memory and your cognitive abilities. So if you work with something that you need a lot of cognitive abilities, or you're a student and you need to boost your memory, maybe for exams, university, you can eat a lot of hemp seeds and flax seeds to increase your intake in omega-3. That will also boost your cognitive abilities and your memory. And so that is a great way of doing that through smoothies. And something else. And smoothies are also great for helping you with the digestive process. Because what happens when your body is digesting your food? Well, your body is breaking the food down in smaller pieces, in tiny, tiny, tiny pieces, extracting the nutrients that can be extracted, and then absorbing that content into the physical body, so that your food literally becomes your physical body. So that's also why I said in the last video, you are what you eat. That is not just some saying like, yeah, everyone has heard that saying, you are what you eat. But so few pause to reflect what it truly means. Yeah, what you're eating literally becomes your body. Your body is building him or herself up on an ongoing basis, because as we are doing activities, we're working or we're studying, we are doing things in our lives, we wear our bodies down. They get tired, with all the things that we are doing. So we have to give our bodies the best possible nutrition, the best possible support, the best possible, conditions to not only survive but to thrive, and to keep doing all of these activities, because we are wearing our bodies down as long as we are awake, and then we sleep in the night to allow our bodies to rest and restore themselves and regenerate. And high quality nutrition is a very important part of that restoration and regeneration process, right? So smoothies are also great for that, because then when you blend the ingredients together, we are taking a step from the digestive process away from the burden of the body, because digesting food is a workload for our body. So the poorer quality we have of our food, the higher our workload will be for the body to digest, to break down that food and digest it, extract the nutrients from it, if there are any, because like fast food has no nutrients. It's only taking up space and adding a lot of extra work for your body to digest it, but it doesn't add anything of value to your body. It doesn't add any nutrients. So you're just adding to the workload of your body without getting any value from it. So that's just a waste of money and energy, no fast food. No fast food. Much better that you prepare your own food from scratch as far as you possibly can, or you can, if you're in a family, you can cook for each other, or if you're a group of friends, you can cook for each other. We can you can split the workload of preparing the food, and then get the joy of eating other food that other people have prepared also. That can also add some variation and give some spice to your everyday life. So the smoothies are great also for that, because smoothies diminish the workload of the digestive process for your body. So make sure also, I eat smoothies for breakfast a few times a week, except when I have my period, and I eat it every day during the period. Because it's so easy to add so much extra nutrient, especially protein and plant-based, of course, to support my body through that process. And then what I wanted to mention also, for instance, when you eat, for instance, eating lentils and beans is a great way also to boost your nutritional value of your food. They are really rich in all kinds of things, including protein and fibers and other important things, iron stuff. And then it's also like many people, or some people, buy them already cooked in can. Don't do that. The food absorbs particles of the can, and cans are in metal, so that adds actually heavy metals to the beans. So if you buy canned beans, you think you're doing something good for your body, because beans in and of themselves are healthy. But then if you buy them canned, you don't know how long they have been on the shelf. They can have been there for a very long time. You don't know when they were prepared, and by default, what is prepared industrially will have a lower frequency. And I will soon read from this book, The World Peace Diet, to illustrate why, and why it's so important that you prepare your own food. And it's not difficult to prepare, beans and lentils. Beans, usually you have to soak them overnight, or a few hours if you do it during the day. You can soak them with water, and and then you need to pressure cook them, because otherwise the cooking process is quite time consuming. So use a pressure cooker when you cook them. Then it only takes a few minutes, and then you can prepare all kinds of dishes with them, really tasty dishes and extraordinarily high nutrient value dishes. And you can have a lot of fun in the process as well. So now that we have seen what you need to eat and what you need to avoid. And yeah, also if you buy food like, I want to talk about that also, processed food. Sometimes we buy processed food because it saves time for us, right? We don't have to prepare the food ourselves. And for instance, I have a client recently, we're working on the belief code, to help the client to create the life that he wants. And one of the associated imbalances that came up were about his food choices. And it turned out that he eats a lot of processed food, and that is an obstacle in him creating the life that he wants. And this is just another example, because I have known this for over 20 years, since I've been a vegan for 24 years, but that might not be obvious to everyone. And so when you start looking into energetics, energy work, raising your frequency, spiritual work, doing your inner work, elevating, uplifting, building yourself up, it may not be obvious to everyone that foods are such an important part of that process. So also processed foods, the more processed a kind of food is, or the more industrialized it is, the less nutritional value it has, and the lower the energetic frequency is, also because it's further away from the original state. So it's further away from what nature intended for that specific food. And that is also important to know, that when we process foods a lot, they lose not only nutritional value, they also lose in their energetic frequency. So even if they are plant-based, but they are super processed, like meat substitutes, for instance, that try to imitate meat from animals, that may be vegan, but it's still not high quality in nutrients content, because it has been so processed. It's so far away from its natural original state. And an example of this, if you want a source you can read, in a book, the book Power versus Force by Dr. David R. Hawkins. I mentioned that book a lot in a previous video about frequencies. The video is called Energy. Everything is Energy, Frequencies Explained, and I'll drop the link below in the description. So in that book, it's an amazing book, very, very good book. So I have it here, I will show you. It's here. Power versus Force by Dr. David R. Hawkins. So he was, unfortunately, he's no longer among us, but he was a very dedicated scientist and a psychiatrist, and he worked with patients with very severe psychiatric disorders, and he also conducted scientific research for decades on human consciousness, and he was very, very, very advanced himself when it comes to consciousness. So he was truly walking his talk, and this book is just amazing. 400 pages of pure wisdom, pure gold. So there are many things in that book, but one of the things I wanted to mention right now that doesn't speak specifically about food, but I will use the principle to show you how it applies to food. So he mentions in this book, for example, among many other gold nuggets of wisdom, that when you read a book, if you read a book in the original language, the content of that book will have a higher energetic frequency. If you read the same content but it has been translated, the energetic frequency will be lower. And you'll say, but the content is the same. Why would that change? Isn't it great that books are translated? Of course, it's great that books are translated to reach a wider audience. But if you have, the knowledge, the skills in the original language to read it, always choose the original language. For instance, this book is in English. I could have bought, translation in Swedish, because Swedish is my mother tongue. But I opted to read it in English, which is the original language. So the content in English will be higher for this book because it was originally written in English. So it's closer to the source of the information. It's closer to the original state of that information. So I hope this is clear, because when we then apply to food, and this is my own reasoning, this does not come from this book, Power versus Force, this is my own reasoning using that same principle, right? So if the content, energetically speaking, of books will have a lower frequency because it was translated, meaning it was taken away from its original state, how it was originally intended, If we apply that to food, that's the same thing. Processed food, or highly processed food, they will have a less And this is a fact. This is a fact that the nutritional value is lower, and that has been shown in analysis made in laboratory. But energetically speaking, if it has been processed, then logically it has to have a lower vibrational, value also, because it has been taken away from its original state, and it has been it has been processed, industrialized so much. So for instance, when you cook your own food, not only do you have full control over what you put into that food, there will be less additives, there will be less there are so many things that the food industry adds to make it more appealing to our senses and to make it more appealing, like marketing. So they add all kinds of flavor additives, all kind of conservatives, so the shelf life will be longer, which means that a longer time has passed since they produced that food, and then you eat it. Yeah, the energetic value will also be lower because it has been on the shelf for so long. You don't know how long. So if you want a really high energetic frequency, you need to prepare your own food from scratch. You need to be very mindful of the quality of the ingredients that you use, and usually, if you can, use organic ingredients. Because if you want to prepare a gourmet dish, you cannot use low quality ingredients and just hope for the best. You need to use high quality ingredients to prepare the food, and then be in the right mindset, the right inner state while preparing it. And that's what I will share with you right now. For you to have a gourmet dish, not only appealing to your physical senses and color-wise, making it look good, but also so that it will truly do good within your body and within your consciousness, while you are allowing your body to absorb all that energy and all that nutrition, all that energy, all that information, because energy is information. So all that information that is stored in your food, you eat it, your body digests it and absorbs it, and that information becomes part of your energetic makeup, which is your energy system. So every food contains information. I mean, all energetic things contain information. So your food also contains a lot of information. It's stored in your food, and then you eat it, and it becomes part of your energetic makeup. In addition to becoming your body physically, because food is also physical substance, right? So we'll go back to this book that I've quoted a few times in previous videos, The World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle. He has a Ph.D. in education. He used to be a Zen monk and a very, very advanced meditator, and he has an extraordinary ability to see the bigger picture, connect the dots, and express what he sees and what he understands very, very eloquently, and he makes it very simple to understand complex topics. So I will quote a part here that speaks exactly about your inner state while you're preparing your food, why that is also important for the energetic value of your food. So I quote, it's still the same chapter as last video, The Metaphysics of Food, chapter 8 in this book, World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle. So I quote, "Many cultures recognize that food that is prepared with love and caring attention to detail is more healthful than food that is prepared with indifference or, even worse, with irritation or anger. For this reason, for example, in many Zen monasteries, only the most senior and advanced meditation monks are allowed to prepare food in the monastery kitchen. In India, mothers have been encouraged for centuries to cook in a loving, calm, and meditative mood, so that the food they prepare for their children will nourish them not only physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. They believe that it is the universal energy, or prana, in food that gives us energy. The vibrational field of the person preparing the food is also a form of prana, and can increase or decrease the food's healthy vibration. There are many other cultures and religions that recognize that food is an intimate vehicle of energy and consciousness, and that when it is prepared with love, mindfulness, and gratitude, these vibrations bless and support the fortunate recipients of the food." And oh God. So if you've ever wondered why the food tastes better when it was prepared by your mother than anyone else, That's not because she is more skilled at cooking. Yeah, maybe she's really skilled at cooking because she has a long experience cooking for her children and other people. But also because the love of a mother is usually very pure and genuine. And that love from your mother when she cooks the food for you will also increase the energetic frequency, the energetic value of that food, not because of the ingredients themselves, but because she infuses that food with her love while she's preparing it, right? And that's also why you have to be very mindful what inner state you have when you prepare food. Never prepare food when you're angry. Never prepare food focusing on how angry or resentful or even bitter you are about another person, because then that energy will blend into the food, and that information of those low frequency energetic states, the emotional states, will blend into the food. So even if you use very high quality ingredients to cook your food, if you prepare that food being angry or resentful or focusing on all the bad stuff happening in the world, yeah, you are sabotaging that food with your inner state. So you need to be very mindful about your inner state while you are cooking also. And that's why when I cook, I usually listen to and sing along with worship songs, because the worship songs have very high frequency, they're very spiritual, and also singing, puts me in a really great mood. And then I know that God is with me, while I'm cooking. That also gives like a warranty. It guarantees that the food will be very healthy and a blessing to eat, because I do this systematically. So then the food will be not only physically and nutritionally high value food, it will also be spiritually and energetically very high value food. So that's also why I prefer to prepare my own food, because when you buy food from the industry, and if you think of it energetically, using this reference I just quoted from the World Peace Diet. So what is the inner state of employees at factories, producing large amounts of food to sell in the marketplace? Will their inner state be, loving, peaceful, joyful, soul connected food? Nope. They want to think about, productivity and profit, and it has to be fast. We have to produce more and more and more and more and more and more. We have to keep up with the competition. We have to, get more out in the marketplace. So it's usually very rushed and not so loving and mindful, because they have to obey to the laws of demand and supply, keeping up with the rhythm, to not lose their competitive advantage in the marketplace, right? So they have to be productive. It has to be done fast. They have to be effective, efficient, from an industry point of view. They cannot think about, the energetic aspect unless you buy food like art, and that also obviously the cost, monetarily will be higher for that kind of foods. Like art, it's creating food like a piece of art, or like something they do because they understand the connections, between our inner state, the energetic, the state of the planet Earth also, and make an effort, to really be in an inner state that is beneficial for the person or people who will eat that food. But in the industry, generally speaking, that is not the case, because they have to be productive all the time. And that's also why you need to stay away from processed foods if you're serious about raising your vibration, elevating your consciousness, and reaching really high levels of consciousness. But yeah, obviously you have to ponder, you have to assess, like, is it worth it just because I want to save time to buy processed foods that is faster, but that will not nourish my physical body nor my consciousness that much. And obviously, if you're really tired, it's difficult to take the time to cook, your own food, and being in this loving, joyful, calm inner state while cooking, to infuse those qualities onto the food. So you also need to find a way of organizing your time so that you use your prime time, like there's prime time on television time, right? You use your own prime time when you have the most energy, you feel the most in a good mood, and it's easiest for you to be loving and be really spiritual, that you start prime time for cooking and preparing your food. And obviously you can freeze your food, so you can save that for later, or you can prepare a lot of food and put in the fridge for several days to come. Because if you use high quality nutrients, ingredients for your food, and you prepare it in a very spiritual, mindful, loving, joyful state while you're cooking the food, it can stay a few days in the fridge. Doesn't matter if you don't eat it immediately. Obviously, it's best, if you can eat it immediately. But sometimes we just have to organize ourselves the best way we can, using all of the different criteria and factors into consideration. So we also have to make it practical in our everyday life, so that we have food to fuel our the temple of our food, temple of our soul. I love food. Most vegans do. We love food, and that is not at all the image that mainstream people have. They think that we are starving. That's absolutely not true. The people who love food most that I know are all vegans. We are obsessed with food. We love food. And also because we understand how beneficial it is to use food, as a vehicle for elevating your consciousness, right? So it's not just for the taste; it tastes good, or it satisfies our physical hunger. No, there's a lot more to that. As food is really, I love food. And speaking about that, I should probably go have lunch soon. So I hope this has been inspirational and practical, and I want to know also what tips you have to share. So share your aha moments, and also share what you do when you cook, and how you make sure to have a really high frequency environment when you cook, so that your food will be infused with those qualities. And food truly, as Pythagoras said, let your food be your medicine, and that's a very wise and healthy way to approach food. So I hope this has given you some food for thought. And I will see you again soon in another video. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.